Hey there, listeners, and welcome to season 2 of Project Zero. Goals the same as last year. In case you haven't been listening, we're going to hear the same great stories from some of the best leaders in the game in project management. But this season, we're going to lean in a little bit more on AI, just like everyone else on the planet, and talk a little bit more about how it's having impact in our industry. So, my name is Alex Tuck, and I'm the host. I am here with healthcare project management consultant Nigisty Lulu. Welcome to the podcast, Nigisty.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you bet. I can't wait to hear about your Project Zero.
Awesome. No, I can't wait to share as well.
Sweet. Awesome. Nigissi, start us out. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my background is in public health and I focus on healthcare operations and health technology. So, I spend most of my time working at the intersection of strategy and execution. So, I really help teams take some ambiguous ideas that they may have and actually make them work into practice. So, early on in my career, I've worked closely with clinical teams, more in traditional healthcare settings, improving healthcare delivery. And that's where I really focused in on how do you design solutions that fit into real workflows for healthcare settings. And then from there, got interested in the health tech boom that was happening years ago. So I've kind of pivoted into health tech technology consulting, where I lead cross functional implementation, help build out operational playbooks for different healthcare organizations. So again, really bringing structure to ambiguous environments and helping companies scale. And now I would say I lead more across business operations and cross-functional programs across various tech companies. So I'll build like different run books, focusing on company reporting systems such as OKRs and quarterly business reviews, and any operational playbooks that can help pretty much sustain cross-functional work within a company, and also creating that visibility for leadership so they can make better, faster decisions on their performance.
Awesome. That's great. And Nigissi, I love where you're living right now in the consulting world because most people conflate project and operations. And the goal of projects is to operationalize them eventually. And so I love that you sit in the middle of that and you take projects to completion and then help companies on the ops side as well.
Yeah.
Pretty fun.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell us where it all started, how you got into project management in the first place.
Yeah, to be honest, I think I just got thrown into project management like right after graduating college. Obviously, as any fresh college grad, you just apply to a bunch of different jobs. And the one that actually ended up sticking was an opportunity at Emory University to be a project manager for their neurology department. So that's really where I got my start in project management. And within Emory, I was working, supporting various healthcare initiatives, and also got thrown into helping them launch a telehealth initiative. So that was really my first opportunity to project manage the internal workflows within a hospital system, but also dive into the health tech side. And I think that naturally just spoke to just my expertise and just like the thrill I get from seeing a deliverable through. I think that's what really resonates with me. And naturally, project management just fell into my lap. So, yeah, I would say that's where I really got my start in project management.
Yeah, it's so funny. No one's ever, at least on the show, I don't think anyone's ever talked about that awesome feeling at the end where you get something all the way across the finish line. All humans want to do that, but I think project managers are the good ones are just like so obsessed with making that thing.
Yeah.
And it's if you're gonna quit a project, you do it before it starts, hopefully. And if you're halfway through, like you gotta press and get some value out of it somehow.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. That's awesome. So tell me, like, what were you studying before you got thrown into project management?
Yeah, so I was focusing on public health. I was on the pre-med track, thought I was gonna be a doctor. Obviously, plans changed. I think I really liked the idea of just diving more into the public health operations and healthcare space because it was a larger umbrella, and in case I do have a different change of heart within healthcare, at least I knew public health was that umbrella that would take me to different avenues within healthcare instead of getting boxed into the pre-med track and becoming a doctor. And also just the love that I have for operations and like helping different workflows succeed within healthcare systems. I think that's what was more attracting to me. And the more time I worked at Emory, the more I realized I didn't want to be a doctor.
Right.
Yeah. And then obviously, like with the work I was doing with the telehealth initiative at Emory, that's where I was like, okay, I want to focus more on health tech and build out operations for early stage startups and continue down that route.
That's so funny. I had a similar experience, but I luckily did it in high school, right, where I took anatomy and physiology. I thought I was gonna do pre-med track, and then I realized I don't really like blood that much and the intensity, and so grateful for all of the healthcare providers that are out there, and we need more of them, especially nurses, but it's a really stressful environment right now, and I think you're the same way as me. I'm obsessed with trying to find opportunities to save people time, healthcare providers time, so they can focus on the patient and their own quality of life. And I think there's so much opportunity right now, and it's really fun to be working in healthcare right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I realize I love to be a supporting role and anything I can take. If a doctor's, hey, I have this idea. I feel so much satisfaction knowing that I can help them execute and bring it to fruition.
Oh my God, awesome.
Yeah.
As a kid, were you more of the organized person in your family? Is project management slash organization sort of a learned skill for you? Where did you live in that spectrum?
Oh yeah, I was definitely the family organizer. I'm the oldest of 5, so I think naturally, like, I'm just a doer, and I love to be organized and very type A personality, and I feel like most project managers are type A because in order to have so many different projects live in your brain, you have to have some sort of type A in you. But yeah, that's I would say in my own personal life, I am a project manager for since a kid, so I think that naturally translated into the work that I do now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm one of those PMs that's actually on the opposite end of the spectrum. It's not that I wasn't organized as a kid. I loved to organize certain things, right? Like baseball cards all in the right order. Like all those things I was very obsessed with, but like the actual thinking about putting things in order and getting projects done, that was something that like I definitely learned. Like it didn't just come to me in middle school, high school. Like things started getting harder and I was like, "Oh, shoot, I have to actually plan these things." And so even as an adult, like my wife is like the PM in our family, right? Except for the very specific things like vacations or something like that where I might take the reins because it's like a big thing and I can get excited about it. So anyway, it's interesting to hear where people land, but still
Yep.
type A for sure. No question there. Cool. So I think it's time. Let's talk about your Project Zero. And so, for all the listeners who haven't listened to our podcast before, Project Zero is sort of that first project, not just where you became a PM, but like where you really figured out, okay, these are the right things to do with project management. These are the wrong things to do with project management. You might have been successful, it might have been a failure, it might have been something in between. But really, it's about that first time where it like clicked, where you really figured out that like project management is invaluable in delivering solutions for folks. So anyway, Nigisty, tell us what your Project Zero is.
Yeah, I would definitely say my project zero was getting thrown into the project management world at Emory and also working on my first ever health tech initiative and helping scale what is now today their market stroke network. So I would say it was one of the first times I was really in the middle of something that required heavy coordination across different stakeholders, obviously all with different priorities and ways of working. So going into it, I don't think I fully understood how complex that would be. So on paper, obviously, once the contract was signed, it seemed relatively straightforward. Here's the initiatives, here's the deliverables, go ahead and execute it. But going into that execution, it became clear pretty quickly that everyone had a different understanding of what needed to happen and how it should work. So that's really where I came in as a project manager to help navigate the different challenges that were sitting across different stakeholders, making sure weekly cadences were set to make sure everyone was aligned on what we're actually trying to do and how we were going to play that out once it came into acquiring the different practices. So obviously we ran into different resistance across onboarding different healthcare systems, differing opinions across stakeholders. In my role, I was responsible for helping keep track of that. So connecting the dots between the people, translating onboarding needs across different clients, and just adjusting things as you go. So that's where I spent most of my time realizing that getting thrown into ambiguous environments, it was scary at first, but I think that's really shaped how I work today. And that Project Zero really became a defining moment in how I carry work in the work that I do today. Just because something's ambiguous doesn't mean it's uncomfortable. I think it's a great opportunity to start asking questions, lean into how different people work, and really meeting people with where they're at so that way you can achieve the best possible outcome for whatever project that you're working on.
Yeah. I think I love that that you had that experience so early in your career, right? Because some people don't get that experience until they've worked in a hospital system for 20 years and then they go out and consult. And it's hard to do
Yeah.
that. To get it on your first at bat is pretty fun. And I think what you just described is a value that consultants can bring to especially healthcare, where you usually have pretty rigid, like healthcare practitioners are very good at working on the fly, but then there's a playbook and there's certain parameters that you have to live within. And so when you start to get into that ambiguous, like gray space, it's not in the playbook, right? It's really hard for folks to do that, especially with health tech. And so bringing in a consultant to help you think through those really gray, squishy areas and get the right answer, it's like that's you've done it 20 times now and 30
Yeah.
times. And so you can bring all that experience and know where things are going to break and where they won't.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing was, obviously I was working at Emory University healthcare system, so they are already established structured healthcare. They've been operating, I don't know how many years, but they're a very established healthcare system. The workflows and operations there seem traditional business as usual tasks for me as a project manager, but to see the opposite side of now launching a health tech initiative for them, that was something completely different, unstructured. So you really had to start from the ground up in terms of building that playbook as you're building and onboarding clients at the same time. So it was definitely
Great.
a cool and interesting experience to see the duality of both a system that is already structured versus one that's more ambiguous, and how do you live between them both and also, yeah, bring that to life. So very interesting times, but it was
Yeah,
very, very rewarding for me at the time as well.
that's awesome. So you're a new PM, right? And trying to figure out everything on your own in a very complex environment. Did you have a mentor that was there that was helping you with some of the PM pieces, or maybe a mentor that was helping you figure out like how to navigate the social pieces of the puzzle?
Yeah, so I think I was just winging it and figuring it out myself at the time because I was the only PM working in that department. So I heavily leaned on the doctors and nurses within my program. So not to say they were a mentorship in the project management space, but it was an opportunity for me to really understand how they work and how I can help translate those learnings into the systems that we were onboarding. So what do the nurses need? What do the doctors need? What do the clinical staff need? So I really leaned on their expertise to help inform how I would best set up this telehealth initiative to succeed from that level of understanding. But from a PM standpoint, I'm trying to think. I know I've reached out, obviously LinkedIn at the time was a very useful tool
Mhm.
for me. So if there were any senior PMs, I'd love to reach out to them and just understand and let them know, hey, I'm working on this new initiative. Is there any insights, or have you ever worked on anything across this in your expertise or level of working, and see if there was anything that they could offer me? But for the most part, heavily leaned on the team that I worked with at the
Yeah.
time.
This is pre-Reddit project management. Yeah, that can just be like that can go either direction, right? Like you might get
Yeah.
good advice or bad advice from it, but you'll get advice for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Um, was there anything that went wrong that had to get corrected, or was there any like really big challenge that you had to overcome that stands out?
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest challenges was just how much resistance we would face in onboarding some of these clients. Not because people didn't see the value, but because we were asking them to change how they worked, which is a significant shift. So even small changes to workflows and also just thinking about trainings and onboarding clients, I think that had the biggest impact when it came to onboarding these clients. So adoption did take a lot longer than expected at first. But again, that helped us revert back and understand, okay, we need to provide white glove service. We need to establish kickoff calls, walk the client through. If it required travel visits, we would be there on site to help make the adoption a little bit less strenuous on the teams, and also provide trainings and provide 24/7 access. So whether that was a doctor being on site, whether it was myself providing services for like office hours. So like just really helping making them ease the adoption. That was one of the biggest challenges that we saw.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. It's really
Mhm.
interesting because it's so rewarding when you do have resistors and you figure out the change management aspect of it and are successful. If I had to rank it top 3, like public sectors, government is obviously the hardest, the biggest resistors in general as a group, right? This is a gross generalization, but as a group, public sector is really tough. And then I'd put finance behind that, but healthcare is like strong number three. And it's really like where I've heard justification for this, and I agree with it, even as an outsider, these folks are dealing with people's lives, right? Like they're very focused on that. The quote I heard is like, technology should be invisible to people. They should feel no change whatsoever, even if there is change. And so, the more you can limit the impact or the changes in workflow, the better. You don't want to keep bad habits in there, but like that's what we should strive for, with our health tech implementations is like, how do we make someone's job actually easier instead
Yeah.
of theoretically easier and actually harder?
Yeah.
For sure. Which happens all the time. I was at a conference end of last year, Innovate Health, and one of the physicians, he was a practicing physician and he moved into admin as well. So he's still a practicing surgeon, but moved into admin as well and was supporting some AI initiatives across the entire hospital system, large hospital system in the Northeast. And he was talking about how like EMRs, the EHRs were supposed to save physicians and nurses and everyone so much time, right? Like that's what kept getting promised over and over again. He's like, hey, look, we know it's better for our patients to have all that information in there. We're not questioning that, but it made a heck of a lot more work. But he juxtaposed that versus like ambient listening software where, oh my God, it is saving like hours and hours of charting time. And that's what we need to like. We now have a gold standard in healthcare of what like actual help is versus theoretical help. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. Yeah. Let's get into some sort of lessons learned in your career so far and some opinions about AI. What do you think the number one skill is that project managers need? And why do you think that's so important?
Yeah, I'd say the ability to navigate, to bring clarity in ambiguous settings. I think that's one of the most important skills. Just because a lot of times, especially in health tech, especially when you're working across early stage startups and you're a PM, you're walking into environments that don't have much structure. So you're really there to create that structure, whether it's meeting across different teams, understanding how cross functional teams work, and building a playbook that will help different teams operate. I think that's the biggest thing in like creating structure in undefined environments. I think once you are able to work in those type of environments, then you can work anywhere else. You can go work for the big Fortune 500 companies and you can go work across middle stage companies as well. It doesn't matter. But I think once you're able to work in ambiguous settings and provide clarity and ownership across the works that different teams and really own that, I think that can help you not only build more confidence in your role as a PM, but also really level set and set yourself aside across other PMs.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'll tee you up for an AI question in a second, but my take on AI, I think the Anthropic just put out their report where if you look at the chart, like figure two, whether you put project management in the management bucket or the administrative bucket or both, something like 85-90% of both of those categories have the potential for replacement. 85-90% of what we do or what we did maybe, let's say 2 years ago, 3 years ago, is going to be done by AI and done better by AI.
Mm.
However, there's that piece of like being that connectivity tissue, like what you just described, right? Like living ambiguous. Even if AI gets really dang close to perfect, there's still going to be so much ambiguity with what do you do with this data that we have from AI and these different
Yeah.
inputs. And I don't know whether our jobs are going to be called like project management in the future,
Mhm.
but I think that project managers, especially the ones that can do what you just described, Gisty, live in that in between, those folks I think are going to really thrive and take on whatever that new role is, the orchestration of all the different AIs, plus getting leadership to understand how things move forward. I think that's going to be a really important aspect of what we do in the future. So,
Yeah, definitely. I think to your point, like AI will definitely take over like the heavy coordination parts of a PM role, like
Yeah,
tracking updates, summarizing information, and like even help with reporting. But I think it won't replace the core skill set across judgment, prioritization, and like working through ambiguity with people. That's one thing you can't replace with AI. So I think it's going to be less time spent on managing like the logistics and more time spent on decision making, aligning with stakeholders, and also just raising the bar for how much strategic thinking is going to be required for PMs.
that's right.
So,
And like the
mhm.
other piece is like the negotiation piece, right? Like how many times have you been on a project where like a developer is getting pulled 7 different directions on 7 different initiatives, all within the same product, right? And so you can be that voice for that developer and you can be the voice for the leader as well and try to help people understand like what you're giving up when you take on something else. That stuff's so hard, and, AI will never do that. You're like, I get AI updates all the time. Like, I have a focus navigator that sends me in my top 5 things I'm supposed to do every single day, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's pretty good, but I'm gonna go with these 3
Yes,
instead." Yeah.
exactly.
No, it's, like, pretty good, and even when it's great, it's still gonna be maybe right for me or maybe wrong for me, but it does save me a lot of time.
It's a useful tool.
Yeah,
I'd say
yeah,
I use it in my day-to-day work, but I'll put anything into ChatGPT or whatever, Claude, all the
yeah,
systems that exist nowadays, but it gives me the option. I can either go with their option or I can help refine the option I wanted to go with.
yep,
So, yeah, I
exactly.
definitely love having that as a second just a second set of thinking.
Yeah. So, speaking of AI and project management, where do you think what are the other pieces that haven't been touched yet in project management that you think AI is gonna start enhancing or saving us time or making us better?
That's a great question. I haven't really thought about that. I'd say for the most part, AI is really touching on a lot of the PM role work. But one thing I will say is I don't think it's able to track just the day-to-day nuances of what comes with PM work. Like anything can change at any given second. A decision can be made and you have to act quick and align on that within your internal teams. I don't think AI is capable of doing that judgment piece or like that really deep strategy thinking piece
Mm.
that you need in real time. But yeah, I would say that piece is probably what's missing
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
AI.
I could see it getting pretty close. I already some of the almost all the models that all the agents that we're creating now within the organization,
Mhm.
it has some form of asking the agent how confident it is. And that's something that obviously we learned from just like watching how Anthropic trains their agents and stuff, or looking at what's coming out at MIT with the confidence measures and stuff. And I think it'll start to understand us a little bit more and understand what the priorities are, or at least like flag something and say, hey, look, you all have these OKRs, right? You have these company objectives. This thing really is an 8 out of 10 with matching this. I understand that you wanna work on this other thing, but just be
Mhm.
careful, like, this would help you move this ball forward, and I think we're still missing that, I think it's to your point,
Yeah.
but I think that AI can get close there, and I think that'll help with project management, especially, like, being able to tie company goals and OKRs to actual project management, like, projects, and then also project management tasks even, and the cross-company collaboration, cross-departmental collaboration. That's stuff that, like, as humans, would be really hard to keep track of all those different pieces
Yeah.
of information. Yeah, it'll be interesting. How about just in general, forget about project management for a second.
Mhm.
What's the coolest way you've seen AI be used in the past year?
I think building roadmaps.
Mhm.
I think that's the coolest thing, especially just around the work that I do with just OKR framing and just like building timelines. I think that's the most important thing. Like, here's the objective. Can you build me a timeline and roadmap to help me execute this? And I think that's really helped provide structure in me. That's something that would take me like almost like a day's work of just thinking to help build that out. But now I can put it in AI and have it build out the timelines for me and the deliverables. And then I can then take it and further enhance it and let it speak to the different teams that I'm working with and the communications that go along with that. So I think that's been a huge game changer in the projects that I work on.
Yeah. Do you keep a prompt library where you, like, reuse the same prompts to help you build these things, or do you take an iterative approach based on each engagement that you have?
Yeah, I have set prompts that I use, but then I also just go based off what it is I actually need. So like getting super detailed. beyond the standard prompts that I have. And also just like looking online, like social media is like a huge tool that can help you learn different prompts that you can use, learning from across different other PMs in other industries. So just taking and learning from what I see online has really
Mhm.
helped shape like the different prompts and the works that I can really utilize within AI.
Yeah, the newest thing is taking the Socratic approach to leveraging AI and asking the AI questions to
Mhm.
get to an endpoint. Like that stuff is really interesting. And you test things out and see what works and what doesn't work. And if you have an actual agent and then you're also trying to sprinkle these things in, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it fights itself. It's fun to try to figure out where you're actually adding value and where it's just a novel idea.
Yeah. It's still a learning experience for me from the prompts that I'm using now. Like it works, but I know there's so much more that I could be asking and utilizing. So definitely eager to continue to learn how it can best impact the work that I do.
Yeah, I get skeptical when anyone uses the phrase like AI expert and people actually talk about us that way. And I'm like, no, there's no such thing because it's like there are experts at like how to structure the data and
Mhm.
how to organize it and keep it secure and tag it. And there's processes that you can take, right? And even having like acceptable use policies and prompt libraries, like there's expertise in like understanding how to structure it. But when it comes to getting an output that is consistent and reliable over time, like I don't know if anyone has figured that out. It's all a learning process, right? And so the sooner that people appreciate that, right? Don't expect AI to be perfect. I think that's where I think we'll start to make progress. And those are the people I really want to talk to, like when where they're skeptical of what it is capable of and what it's not. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. Yeah. Cool. What if you could give yourself like one piece of advice, like earlier in your career? It could be about project management, it could be about something else. What would you have told younger Nigisty that might have improved your career trajectory?
Yeah, I would definitely say really understand the context around the work and not just the tasks themselves. Cause I think as a PM, you can get really sucked in into the tasks of what you're getting asked to do. But if you understand the why behind why you're doing it, I think that really matters most. And it'll help drive whatever outcome you're looking to achieve. And that perspective really helps you prioritize better, make stronger decisions, and also thinking about how this affects different people that are gonna get affected by this decision or whatever project you're working on, and also just help you contribute meaningfully as you grow within your career. So I'd say just get really comfortable, just not having everything fully defined. So a lot of work as you progress involve navigating ambiguity and just figuring things out as you go. So the sooner you can get comfortable with that, I think the easier it can become moving things forward. So definitely ask why.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
love it. Thank you so much, Nigissi. These are all such good ideas. And I think that focus that you had throughout the entire episode on being comfortable in the gray, being comfortable with ambiguity, understanding how to navigate that. I think that's a really important lesson that I haven't focused on that much with any of the other guests. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And thanks for sharing all your stories and your advice in your Project Zero. It's been so much fun.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And so how can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn at Nigisty Lulu and also via email at nigisty at techconsulting.com.
Cool. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much,
Thank
Nigisty. And
you.
thanks to all of you who've joined us at Project Zero for this week. Be sure to subscribe to Project Zero wherever you get your podcasts. And we will catch you next time for another great project leader story.